Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Character Explained. Today we're going to be covering Spots, who is the rumored villain to be in Into the Spider-Verse 2. So we're going to break down their origins, their powers, their backgrounds, and explain a little bit how I think they're going to be used in Into the Spider-Verse 2. So without further ado, let us start explaining who is Spot.
Whoa! This guy can teleport stuff? Run! Too late!
The Spot's first appearance in Marvel Comics was in the Spectacular Spider-Man number 98, which came out in January of 1985. Jonathan Owen earned a doctorate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he was roommates with Quentin Beck, being Mysterio. As a scientist, he worked for the Kingpin, and he was assigned to reproduce the radiation levels of Cloak to find artificial ways to mimic his powers. Working late one night, he succeeded, creating a solid black circular portal. In doing so, however, the drain on the city's power became so great a blackout washed over the city, causing the portal to shimmer and destabilize. Fearful of losing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Owen stepped into it. The shock and the transition caused him to pass out. He awoke floating weightlessly in a dimension which he initially assumed was Cloak's dark dimension. He soon realized, however, that the power shortage caused the portal to send him into a different dimension entirely, a place of half darkness and half light. A seemingly infinite number of portals surrounded him in this place. Making swimming motions, he managed to find the original portal that brought him there and slipped back through it. After emerging back in his laboratory, Owen's body had undergone such a radical transformation from being in this entirely different dimension. The portals from the other dimension had adhered to his skin, covering him with black spots from head to toe. Realizing the spots were portable space warps, he started to think he might be able to use them to defeat anyone in battle and also steal anything that he would need to. When Spider-Man and the Black Cat arrived to confront the Kingpin, he appeared before them and announced himself as the Spot. Spider-Man collapsed on the roof, laughing at his name at first. The Spot ended up winning that first confrontation and warned the heroes to leave the Kingpin alone. He later lost a second battle against Spider-Man because he was tricked into throwing too many of his spots as weapons and not keeping enough to defend himself with. The Spot primarily uses his powers to rob banks, rob technology, and rob anything that will get him and his research ahead in life, but he has mostly been one of Kingpin's most notorious henchmen, meaning he goes toe-to-toe with Spider-Man and Daredevil quite often in Marvel Comics. So the Spot's main ability is teleportation, from being able to throw the spots from the spotted dimension on his skin. He can transport things, people, himself, all throughout the spotted dimension to many places throughout the universe and even the multiverse. He has incredible speed with his portals, and he has very good intelligence as he was a capable scientist specializing in physics. He doesn't have any enhanced strength or durability. He's not able to do many attacks using energy protection or fighting skills, but he's very smart with his portals and uses all of his portals to spawn objects and limitless amount of objects at his enemies, which can sometimes prove way too much to handle, especially in cases of Spider-Man. I haven't seen it in the comics personally, but I have no idea if he would be able to do something like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, where if someone is halfway through a portal, if he could close the portal and cut them in half. But assuming that that's how the portals work, I'm certain he would be able to do that in a fight. But for the most part, he has been used in the kids' animation version of the Spider-Man series. So if we'll see any of that maybe in the Spider-Verse, which is a little more adult and mature, we will see when the movie comes out. Because of Spot's incredible ability to appear in one place and the other simultaneously, he is often targeted by other criminal organizations, and most notably in the comics was the Gideon Trust, who are often foes of the Fantastic Four. He was forced by the Gideon Trust to open a portal to the Negative Zone. The Gideon Trust hope to investigate and exploit natural resources of the zone for their own purposes, but are often defeated by the Fantastic Four, and they were trapped in this time zone after they defeated Spot on Earth. Knowing that they could exploit his powers, the Hand, which you would recognize from season 2 and 3 of Daredevil on Netflix, resurrected Owen to use him as an attempt to destroy basically the entire world, and they started off by using his powers to infiltrate shield helicarriers, and also Avengers Tower, since he was able to create portals within these structures and allow hand agents to get in unnoticed and extremely quickly. Unfortunately, during this storyline, he was killed by the Wolverine, but was later resurrected by the Mandarin, who attempted to use his powers to explore other dimensions, but each time he ended up being trapped in these portal dimensions and other worlds, since he was not able to locate the exact portals he needed and would just get lost in space and time for many years. And when he returned back to Earth, he wanted to kill Russian mob boss Dmitry Ikonov, who he believed was responsible for him losing so much of his life and so much of the passion that he had before he was a Spot and when he first became the Spot. But he was later stopped by Spider-Man, who convinced him that his powers could be used to do amazing things and that he should let Ikonov live. Unable to break from his life of crime and need for money, the Spot still continued to rob banks and join multiple crime families looking to find a home. He joined the Hood's gang, but it later revealed to be a mole from Mr. Negative under the promise that he would cure Spot from his power so he could be able to turn to his old life once the Magia crime families were wiped out. Spot's endless endeavors into crime have put him up against many of the street-level heroes that we know and love in Marvel, being Daredevil, Spider-Man, sometimes even Doctor Strange, and a lot of the times the X-Men, but unfortunately for him, always having his powers exploited and not knowing his true sense of purpose allows him to be exploited so many times by the villains he ends up forming teams with, so he gets into many fights, not to the point where he's an anti-hero, but he has to defend himself against both heroes and villains on a constant basis. He's even shown up in the Spider-Man 2099 universe many times, so when Oscar Isaac reprises his role in Spider-Verse 2, we're certain that these two might have some history together. So in the Spider-Verse 2, we can assume that during the events of the first movie, Spot was working for Kingpin at the time. And with the Kingpin being zapped into multiple dimensions, he might be using his powers to go and save his former boss. And once the Kingpin realizes the full extent to his powers, he will use them as an attempt to get back at Miles Morales, Peter Parker, and all the Spider-Men who are used to defeat him. Who knows if we're going to see him hop through multiple dimensions using his portals, but we know that he is going to be definitely used by the Kingpin in this movie, which makes me think that they're going to humanize him a little more as a villain like they did with the Prowler in the first film. But regardless of what they do to set up the Spot as a villain for the Spider-Verse 2, I'm very excited to see this character make his way to the big screen so we can see his powers on full display, and I can't wait to see what they're able to do visually with his powers, and also too just technically, because he is able to pull off some really amazing things. So in the comments down below, let me know how excited you are to see Spot in Spider-Verse 2, and what other villains would you like to see in the Spider-Verse down the line. And as always, if you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up, and you can check out all my other videos through my playlist down below, and also on my Twitch. If you like what you see, of course, subscribe and turn the ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. But until the next Character Explained video, awesome guys, and take care.